Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Rossini singers. Yo, yeah, this is cool. I have to confess, I'm kind of a Rossini nerd. I think he's one of the most fascinating composers that, ever existed. He successfully transitioned from a classical period composer to a romantic period composer over the course of his life. And not many composers managed to do that successfully. And in a totally amazing way, because he gave up writing opera. He was a classical composer of opera and a romantic composer of keyboard character pieces and small vocal works, which is kind of remarkable. In addition to that, he was the great composer of operas in the classical period after Mozart, along with Mozart, I would say alongside Mozart. But not only was he a great composer of operas in the classical period, but he established the forms and modality of Italian opera for the rest of the 19th century, practically. Really an incredible genius, and he gets so little credit for it. Oh my God. I mean, in musicological circles, he's taken seriously, or at least he's taken more seriously than he used to be, thanks to a lot of very serious musicological work, and his operas are being recorded with more frequency, and all of that's a good thing. But for average listeners, considering how popular he is from his overtures and whatnot, the scope and magnitude of what he did is really scarcely known. One of my great ambitions, if I have time over the rest of my life, is to go through the entire Naxos edition of Rossini operas, because it's virtually complete. It may be complete. Basically, they've done just about all of them in mostly very good live performances, and I would like to talk about them one at a time. Maybe it's time for a Rossini crusade or something like that. It would be fun, but it's in the cards somehow. I have to get to it. I really do. But the 5 greatest Rossini singers is also an interesting concept, because Rossini singers are kind of a new thing. They really are. There aren't that many of them. Or there weren't that many of them, because Rossini's, his wife was the singer Isabella Colbrand, who was actually, a mezzo by these categories that we have today. Back in Rossini's day, they were all just sopranos. There were no categories like we have now. But some of Rossini's greatest roles were written for his wife, who was a mezzo, and they were written for tragic or serious operas, which nobody cares about these days. People only care about Rossini's comedies. And Rossini himself said he was made for comedy, which is true. But that doesn't mean he didn't write some fabulous operas in other genres. So we're going to have to get to that. So let's talk about the Rossini singers. They generally fall into a couple categories: the ones who do comic stuff and the ones who focus more on the serious stuff. Although the greatest did both, of course. Cecilia Gasdia. Cecilia Gasdia is a terrific singer, a terrific Rossini singer. Her outstanding role was Ermione in the Erato recording, which is really an outstanding opera. A fabulously adventurous and exciting piece of music with a bitter, tragic conclusion. Oh, it's just wonderful. And Gasdia is sensational in that opera. Absolutely sensational. And she did quite a bit of other Rossini too, but that was her outstanding role. After Gasdia, Ewa Podles, the Polish mezzo. Now, Ewa Podles is best known for this. Tancredi, part of the Naxos edition. This is a stunning performance. Absolutely wonderful, with cat hair and everything on it. Oh, God. How does it get there? That's the question. But anyway, she's a marvelous singer, and she's totally invested in the role. And this is a fabulous performance. It includes Podles, Sumi Jo, Stanford Olson, Pietro Spagnoli, Anna Maria de Mico, and Lucrezia Lendi under Alberto Zedda. Yeah. Really a hot opera, too. It has, the Di Tanti Palpiti, the greatest hit of 18 14 or whatever year it was when it was written. A glorious, serious, tragic opera. Fabulous piece of music. So Podles stars, and she also made some other Rossini recital discs and things, but that's her outstanding role, and it immediately vaulted her into the pantheon of great Rossini singers. Next, Teresa Berganza. She is the Rosina in the famous Abbado Barber of Sevilla. Barbieri di Siviglia. Yes, she's that. But she also did, the Italian Woman in Algiers and La Cenerentola and some other things like that. She's really a wonderful, warm and winning singer. She sings with a smile in her voice. She's just terrific. And her recordings are lovely. And she doesn't get a lot of attention either, actually. She's really a very reliable and consistently fine singer who, for some reason, seems to fall by the wayside quite often. So it's good to be able to give her a shout out, I think. Then Cecilia Bartoli. Oh, of course. The singer with more interesting facial tics than any other singer alive today. She's got an amazing voice. She's an amazing artist. But it is true when she sings, she sort of does this a lot and like that a lot. And, that's okay. We don't have to look. We just have to listen. She has really devoted herself to popularizing a lot of Rossini. She's done, a whole bunch of complete operas, but also, the usual comic ones, but also piles of recitals and 2 discs of Rossini cantatas and all kinds of other stuff. And she sings the music magnificently. She's also a mezzo, and Decca has released 15 discs or something like that, a fairly large set of her collected Rossini. There's a whole Bartoli Rossini edition out there, which we're going to talk about, I think, in the next day or two, probably, just because it deserves the attention. And it's really, really good to see a singer being able to specialize in Rossini's music, of course, because it's just fabulous stuff. And last, allergies, folks. It's that time of the year. Last but not least, Marilyn Horne. Yay! Marilyn Horne, of course, invented the idea of Rossini singer. She also did an amazing Tancredi, but she also did the Barber of Seville, and she did the Italian Woman in Algiers, and she does all the trouser rolls, the castrato. Well, they're not castrato, but they were trouser rolls. And my God, can that woman sing? Holy mackerel. It's just fabulous hearing her. And fortunately, she has made quite a few recordings, and they are superb. She was the Rossini singer par excellence through most of the second half of the 20th century, doing things that nobody else was doing and doing them better than anybody else ever had or could or probably will. And it's because of her that so much of this repertoire finally began to resurface after, century or two of almost total neglect. Marilyn Horne is Rossini, sort of, kind of. She's fabulous. And so those are the 5 greatest Rossini singers, available on disc anyway, in my opinion. I'm sure you may have a few of your own, and feel free to let us know who they are, because quite frankly, the more the merrier. The truth of the matter is people have to be able to experience this amazing music and enjoy it. And, one of the ways to do it is to follow the careers of the singers who made it a specialty and treated it with the care and sterling musicianship that it deserves. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.